we get your top stories from around the globe. Now starting with a big meeting that took place between President Trump and President Zelensky. Now a 2-hour meeting between the United States President Donald Trump and Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky took place in Florida on Sunday. Both the leaders discussed a peace plan on ending the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war, and soon after the meeting, both the leaders spoke to press. Now, Trump here said a deal to end the war in Ukraine is closer than ever. He even said that a draft agreement to end the war was nearly 95% done. However, he did admit that there are thorny questions over the future of eastern Donbas region that are yet to be resolved. Meanwhile, he also offered to travel to Kyiv to address Ukraine's parliament ahead of a possible vote on a peace plan. Take a listen.
Well, thank you very much. We had a terrific meeting. We discussed a lot of things. As you know, I had an excellent phone call with President Putin that lasted for over 2 hours. We discussed a lot of points, and I do think we're getting a lot closer, maybe very close.
Mr. President, have you agreed on the so-called free trade zone on Donbas? How to separate the sites? How to make the separation line? Who will be responsible?
The word agreed is too strong. I would say not agreed, but we're getting closer to an agreement on that, and that's a big issue. Certainly, that's one of the big issues, and I think we're closer than we were probably. It's unresolved, but it's getting a lot closer. That's a very tough issue, but one that I think will get resolved.
President Trump, I know you sound an optimistic note here, but what happens in a few weeks if things sputter? What are you prepared to do?
They keep fighting, and they keep dying. No good. But if things don't happen, they keep fighting, and they keep dying. And we don't want that to happen. He doesn't want it to happen. President Putin doesn't want it to happen either.
Now, viewers, while this is what Trump said, Zelensky, on the other hand, said that Trump was always welcome to visit Kyiv. He also repeatedly thanked Donald Trump and paid tribute to his team, including the president's envoy Steve Witkoff and son-in-law Jared Kushner. Now, Zelensky also added that the US and Ukrainian teams could meet again as early as the next week to finalize the remaining points in the peace plan. Take a listen.
Thank you for everything, dear colleagues. First of all, I would like to thank President Trump for a great meeting at this amazing place in his home in Lago. And we had a really great discussions on all the topics, and we appreciate the progress that was made by American and Ukrainian teams in these recent weeks. Special thanks to Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner, and thank you for their engagement and full commitment, and also to our team, and first of all to Rustem Umerov and General Gnatov, and to all our teams. And we discussed all the aspects of the peace framework, which includes, and we have a great achievements, 20-point peace plan, 90% agreed, and US-Ukraine security guarantees 100% agreed. US-Europe-Ukraine security guarantees almost agreed. Military dimension 100% agreed. Prosperity plan being finalized, and we also discussed the sequencing of the following actions. And we agree that security guarantees is a key milestone in achieving lasting peace, and our teams will continue working on all aspects. We also had a joint productive call with European leaders, like President Trump said already, and a lot of leaders, including NATO and the EU. And we agreed that our teams will meet in upcoming weeks to finalize all discussed matters, and we agreed with President Trump that he will host us, and maybe in Washington, European leaders and Ukrainian delegation, yes, in January, and Ukraine is ready for peace.
Now, viewers, Trump also hosted a grand dinner for Zelensky at his Lago resort, which was attended by officials from both the Ukrainian government and the Trump administration. Both the leaders also held talks with their European leaders, including Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission. Now, before meeting Zelensky, Trump also held a telephonic conversation with Russian President Vladimir Putin, which he later described as very productive. Trump said that he convinced Russia seeks a political and a diplomatic settlement to the war. The call, which was initiated by the US president, lasted 1 hour 15 minutes. In fact, the Kremlin also termed the conversation between the two leaders as friendly, well-wishing and business-like. Now, viewers, Trump is expected to hold another phone call with Putin, whose approval would be required for any potential peace agreement to take place.